I'm Francisco Marco Serrano, and I'm an economist. Whatever that means, we deal with numbers, right? So you can imagine that when you get an economist dealing with social media, there's some finance and data going on. And actually, along my 15 years of career, I have worked in several roles. So I started my career in management accounting. So I'm versed in finances, but at the same time, I had to train myself in marketing and strategy because I was working as a senior manager in an industrial company. So when I started working as a consultant years later, I actually realized that companies do not understand the value of data and how to really analyze that really good mine they have. They have gold and they don't know. That's why, as a lecturer, years after my career as a consultant, I just decided to start training about the benefits of having a good knowledge of what your data can bring you. Today, we are going to be understanding or trying to learn what is this about social media ROI or return on investment, what it means for the company to be social, and how can we measure this return to the company. So what we're going to be seeing during this next half an hour is the roles of social media. Then we will try to understand it, and we will need to go through the concept of conversion, how important a CRM and Salesforce conversion is for actually having a return from our social activities. And then we will see how not only conversion is paramount to make a return, to gain a return, to obtain profit from social media, but as well how cost savings are important. So if everyone is ready, let's start with that, because it's going to be half an hour of really compressed knowledge. Now, I don't know if you know much about the strategy, about how things work inside a company, but you should. If you are in marketing, you should know everything about the company. If you are in finance, you should know what's inside the company. If you are in data analysis, if you are a business analyst, if you are in communications, PR, even if you are in production, warehouse, you all have to know how a company makes money. It's very important. Otherwise, your CEO, the company owners, the shareholders are not going to be making the most of social media. According to the theory of value chain, every function in the company has to add value to increase the value of the organization. So how best to be able to create value if you know how is your role within the organization? And that's why when I see someone asking me, how can I generate value using social media, the first advice I give is get to know your company. So this model, it's from Michael Porter, and he was actually dividing the company operations into two different sets of value or two activities. The primary, which were the inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and service. And then you have like secondary or support activities, which we consider or summarize into firm infrastructure, human resources, technology, and procurement. Now, if you manage to embed social media within every function in the company, then you might be able to leverage the brand's value and finally increase the company's profitability. For instance, McKinsey & Company, which is one of the biggest and most important productivity consulting companies in the world, published a research in 2010, and they were considering three main benefits that you could get from using social media within your organization. Notice that at the time we were still talking about Web 2.0, that nowadays is kind of a dated concept, and we have evolved towards a more social consideration of activities. So no one uses, or almost no one uses nowadays, Web 2.0, but McKinsey & Company were still using this in 2010. It's 5 years ago. However, the three main benefits, they are still present, like internal improvements, so better access to knowledge, cost savings in communication or innovation, better customer service, which is dealing with your customer base, that will improve marketing effectiveness, customer satisfaction, and will reduce the support cost. And finally, they were accounting for improvements in the relationships with third parties, like partners. Notice that these main three benefits are all about relationship. And maybe you were thinking that would only allow you to improve customer satisfaction. Well, even internally, let's think of how you work together between departments, between different branches, a multinational company that is operating in several countries. Social media can be really used as well internally to improve the efficiency of the organization. The problem, and this is sad, is that companies are not always embracing this holistic approach, and they just focus on front office functions like marketing and communication. So if you want to become an evangelist of social media into your organization, you should actually start using it internally, and you should actually start to spread the word that social media can improve your internal communication. So, from the external perspective, I guess that you will know Tata Docomo, which is an Indian telecom company that acts a lot in the social media. When years ago they decided to launch the brand, they wanted to convert the first users in advocates of the brand. I mean, that's the aim of any brand that launches in social media. And as we will see later, it's part of the sales funnel, really. Further, he wanted to use social media to solve problems and issues. They wanted to gather ideas as well, like preferences on their customer or users. They wanted to know which new services they could launch. But at the same time, they wanted to increase the loyalty through higher engagement. they wanted to create personal relationships with the users. And I have to say that it's been a good success between the young users. Years ago, for instance, I went to socialmention.com and cloud.com, and I managed to get the following indicators or KPIs, key performance indicators, about Tata Docomo brand. The strength of the brand was 1%. That might seem low. However, the sentiment, it was of, for every one negative comment in social media, the brand had 12 positive comments. So that reflects how well they were doing to get into their user base, how their users were actually saying good things about them. The passion level, it was 52%. The reach of the brand, it was 16%. And the cloud index, it was 82. Notice this goes up to 100. Currently, this cloud indicator for Tata Docomo, just in case you are checking online, it's 81. But you know, if you are aware of how cloud measures a brand karma, it may change from one day to the other. Now, what Tata Docomo tried after getting these very good indicators was, wow, increase sales and billing. Now we have a good brand, let's get a return on it. And that's what every brand should aim from social media.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Social media, at the end, it is a matter of getting more business and getting a financial return. So if you have understood that social media is a very important part of the company, now you have to understand that these roles of management will have to be covered by people developing those functions. And you might have heard a lot about the social media strategies, the community manager, social media manager. Maybe you don't have very clear what these people or these functions have to do within the company. Well, the social media strategist should develop a strategic role, and it should plan actions with a long-term horizon. I mean, social media, it's not something that you can start using today and then abandon the following day, and then you start moaning that you haven't had a result. It will have results, if any, in the longer term. It needs an investment of time and resources, including human resources. So if your boss or your client is saying, oh, I want results, tangible results in a week or a couple of weeks, well, the first thing that you should advise them, it's very difficult to achieve. So the social media strategist will work in a long-term horizon. And this person should understand business. I mean, if the social media strategist doesn't understand the global strategy of the company, then that's nothing to do. The social media strategy has to work together with the corporate strategy. And that means that this person will have to work very closely with senior managers, including the financial manager. However, the community manager or community managers in bigger companies, you might have a bigger team. It's an operational role, right? So it's the person or people that will develop the activities that the social media strategist has developed. Let's call it that way. The social media strategist is the planner, is the general, and the community manager is a soldier. So, my advice is understand what a social media strategist is, what a community manager is, what they do, what are their roles, which are their different orientations, and then you will start understanding that they need different metrics to monitor the results. At the same time, they will use different monitoring frequency. You are a social media strategist, you better take monthly or quarterly reports. However, if you are a community manager, you, depending on the activity of the company and the community, you might need to monitor daily or even hourly. The tools will be different as well. However, if you want to talk strategy and you want to talk money, you need to understand what return on investment is. ROI means return on investment, and it's the main financial concept that you will ever see, because it's measuring the net profit that a company, project, or campaign is generating in comparison with invested costs. Some people will call it profitability, right? And you will always see it expressed as a percentage. Actually, it's a percentage that indicates the net profit that has generated, the activity has generated from every invested dollar. So if you know what the return on investment is on your campaign, you will understand if that campaign has been successful. Because if ROI is positive, that will mean that there are more benefits than costs. However, if it's negative, that means that you have lost money. But at the same time, you know that if you have two different campaigns, those campaigns with higher ROI will be more successful because they have more money generated for every dollar that you have invested. So you can imagine how important this is. If you have 3 different campaigns running at the same time, and you know the ROI of three of them, you know which one is the best campaign because will be the one with the highest ROI. But at the same time, if you have different campaigns which are not social, because ROI, it's nothing to do specifically with social media. I mean, marketing, traditional marketing has been using ROI for a while. Actually, we call it ROIM, return on investment on marketing activities. So let's say that you have the return on investment of a TV ad, and you want to compare that TV ad with another campaign. Well, you can, because both ROIs are comparable. You have invested $5,000 in your Facebook campaign, and you got 5% ROI. Then you invested $5,000 in your TV ads, and you got 3% ROI. Well, Facebook was more profitable. You see? Actually, Amazon is always doing this type of activity, and that's why until not very recently, they didn't start paying for TV ads, because they did some testing, because you can do A/B testing as well on social media and in marketing, even in traditional one. And they found out that it wasn't as profitable as they were expecting. That's why Amazon doesn't make or doesn't invest that much in TV ads. Very little, really. So how can we understand the company strategy? Because at the moment, we have understood that we need people running social media strategy, running the activities on the day-to-day. We have understood that we need to learn about corporate strategy, but how? Well, I'm going to advise you to learn about the balanced scorecard, because it's great to monitor the strategy. What it does, it divides the strategy in four perspectives: learning and innovation, internal processes, customers, and finances. And all four perspectives are interlinked. So if you improve any of the areas, there will be a knockout effect on the rest of areas. Let's see with an example. Let's see that you are improving the learning of new technologies, you increase the investment in hardware in your company, you are improving the learning and growth perspective. But that will improve your service efficiency, which is an internal process. Well, we all know that service efficiency improvements will improve customer satisfaction, which is a customer perspective. Well, now you tell me that customer satisfaction will not increase income and profitability in the company, which is the financial result or perspective. So what we have had is that learning new technologies and or increasing the investment in hardware has increased our turnover and our profitability. Now, let's think. We were talking before about the value chain. So if we learn how our value chain works, how our strategy works, and we can do that with the balanced scorecard, and we embed social media within these two structures, we can learn how to add value to our company, how to, at the end, final target, make more money. Obviously, the financial manager or the CFO, the chief financial officer, will ask you for one value, which is return on investment. So the first thing that you will start looking at is benefits. And some of the benefits of social media is getting more conversions. And you might be thinking what a conversion is. If you are not into marketing, you might not know it. But a conversion is when the consumer has known about your product and ends up doing something about it, like buying it, right? Now, a lot of people say that conversions in the age of social media have changed a lot, that the cycles are different. Well, I don't think so. I just think that social media has just contributed to make this relationship more dynamic and stable. However, monitoring and reacting, it's now better. So yes, the environment with social media for selling, it's now more difficult, but if you make a mistake, you can amend it quicker. So if you want to learn about conversions, that's my other advice. Learn about the AIDA model. AIDA, it's an acronym, and it's from awareness, interest, desire, and action plus advocacy. And these are the different perspectives of the different stages that a customer will go through. They learn about your brand, they are made aware. Then they are interested in your brand, they desire it, and finally, hopefully, they will buy it. Obviously, not everyone that knows about your brand will buy it. And that's why that funnel shaped, because a lot of people at the end, but really very few at the bottom. Now, you should make yourself this question. Can you use social media to get more people aware, interested, desiring your brand, and finally buying your product? Well, companies like SAP thought the same. SAP is a company that I would say it's one of the biggest sellers of ERP. ERP, it's a software which is enterprise resource planning, is management software. And they wanted to use social media to increase their conversions. So what they did, they focused in Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. They ended up closing 24 accounts after a restructuring, and they kept 4 Facebook accounts, 4 Twitter accounts, and 2 LinkedIn accounts. And they work on a plan to grow critical mass for creating a community. Well, they amassed 95,000 followers in 11 months, right? And one of the accounts, SAP Latin America, for example, ranked 19th in followers and engagements. They had a 17% interaction rate with an increase of 25% in subscribers. And they actually never measure ROI at this stage, but they know that this campaign speeded up the process of sales conversion. That is, from when someone discovered the brand until they decided to subscribe, they actually spent less time. So they managed to increase the speed at which sales were closed. Then in consumer packaged products, Toblerone, it's a well-known chocolate brand from Kraft. And in Philippines, they try to link the concept of gratitude to the brand. It's like, you want to express gratitude, you have to actually give Toblerone, right? And it seems that they were really successful because they managed to increase sales by 132%. That's what I call ROI, right? Because they increased sales by that much. Another brand that managed to get a lot of conversions, it was Justin Boots. They invested $120,000 for a campaign in Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, and Bleep.fm. And they exceeded the sales target by 30%. And guess what? Social media attracted like 95% of the total sales. So quite good campaign. Then another brand that did well using a YouTube campaign, it's Blendtec. I mean, you can search on YouTube Blendtec, and you will see a massive amount of videos. They started with just a budget of $50, right? And what they do is they show how powerful the blender is just by blending, everything. I mean, these are the guys that are blending iPads. Well, they multiplied sales by 5, and they launched a new merchandising line of products. So they increased sales overall. So what are these companies really measuring? Or what do you want to measure if you want to know your ROI? Well, you need your benefits and you need your costs. So if you're investing £1,000 in a campaign that allows you to gain 1,500 in profits, well, 100, 500 minus 1,000, that's a net $500 divided by 1,000 that you invested. Then multiply that by 100, well, you got an ROI of 50%. Now, this is just a calculation that I just made up. Obviously, with all these figures being so strategic, very few companies are actually releasing how much are they making from social. So what I say always is you need to experiment, you need to test, and you need to measure, and then adapt and change your strategies to make the most from your money. So what should you measure? In cost, you have your personnel costs, you have your technology costs, and you have other costs like your design, computer programming, your AdWords campaigns, Facebook ads. But that's easy. Your problems maybe are measuring conversion, cost savings, and branding. So maybe you are willing to know which is your conversion benefit, and here the problem is know how many you converted. Well, I know of some techniques to measure conversions. At the moment, just keep this advice. You need to be good at tracking. Unless you want to crunch numbers using statistical techniques, you are going to be very good at tracking. You know, like what you would do in an e-commerce, that you are tracking where your conversions came from, that kind of thing. Then, which is the percentage or how many of the visits you converted times the customer lifetime value. And this is a very important KPI, a very important metric, because you are not making money only in the first sale. If you manage to get that customer to buy from you time and again, the value of that customer is even higher. Let's think of Coca-Cola, for instance. You could get a calculation that maybe $2,000 is what a customer from Coca-Cola is, and that's all what this person will be drinking in Coca-Cola every time. You know, it's along its life as a consumer, it might be spending that. Or a General Motors customer, that General Motors would value in $340,000, because usually if you buy one General Motors car, when that one runs out and you have to buy another one, you might be buying another General Motors car. Well, that's the idea behind CLV. Or you might be looking at media equivalent value, which is what you are saving in advertising and promotion because you are not paying for social media. Beware, because if you are paying for your Facebook ads, that's not a cost saving. What I'm saying is you post a link in Twitter and someone finds about you because of that link. So how can you estimate this cost saving? Well, media equivalent value could be calculated by a theoretical CPM, CPC, and CPA. So get all those, estimate your number of impressions, your clicks, and your total leads that have come from social media. And here you are, you can calculate your media equivalent value. Or you can save money, right, for being improving your customer satisfaction. Lenovo, which is a computer company, managed to reduce by 20% the number of phone calls. It increased the productivity of its agents, and it reduced the resolution cycle measured in days. At the end, that's not only saving money in the call center, but at the same time is improving customer satisfaction. The same thing with the Carphone Warehouse, a UK company. It's receiving about 80 to 100 tweets per week, and thanks to how it's dealing with its customers using Twitter, it's improved the brand sentiment and has reduced the resolution cycle, which again, it's increasing customer satisfaction. And you might be thinking, how can we actually measure the cost reduction in customer service? Well, an American company, Pitney Bowes, by setting a social media way of dealing with customers, managed to reduce call center calls by 30,000 per quarter. They estimate that every call is costing them $10, so they saved per quarter $300,000. So there you are. That gets you ROI. Or Infusionsoft, a company that is a CRM, an e-commerce and sales automation, and they use social media for informing their customers about updates and news. Well, at the beginning, they were having one agent per each 55 customers. Now, they managed to triple that, and every agent is capable of dealing with 172. So not bad. Or you could get cost savings as well by generating content. You might have heard about user-generated content, and Visa launched in Mexico a campaign which managed to get 355 new Facebook fans, 64 new videos, and almost 29,000 people voted. But the good thing about the campaign is that Visa payments, that's a credit card, increased by 19% during the campaign, which it's a very good thing for Visa since it generated more business. Or you could get cost savings from online reputation. I don't drink bourbon, that's a spirit, but in America, Maker's Mark seems to be a very important brand, and they actually made a mistake and they decided to water down its main product. I mean, they wanted to make it less pure. What happened? Social media was a revolution. Every consumer was really angry about the decision, and they went to social channels to complain about. Hopefully, the company was listening. They reacted, and they revoked the decision. You know, even what happened is sales improved by 44%, and the profits improved by 45%. So that's why people and companies and brands should be listening to what their users and consumers are saying in social media. In 1985, when Coca-Cola made a similar mistake with New Coke, it took them months to react and millions of dollars in lost sales. So Maker's Mark, by using social media and listening to it, managed to avoid a catastrophe. Now, how do you measure the strength of your brand? That's another thing to take into consideration. So we have gone through different ways of acquiring benefits. We have got conversions or sales conversions. We have gone through cost savings from user-generated content, from brand improvement. We have gone through call center savings. So basically, that would be the main important ways of getting benefits from social media. So, any questions? Well, if there are no more questions, then I'm going to thank you for having listened to this webinar. And please note, you can actually have a look to the different courses that we are offering that might actually let you advance into the different concepts that we have been talking today. Thank you very much. Have a good day.